You're listening to the Business of Pharmacy podcast with me, your host, Mike Kelzer. Well, hello, Chris.
How's it going, Mike?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, Chris, for the people who haven't maybe stumbled across you online, tell our listeners why we're talking today. What's going on?
Yeah. So I'm a pharmacist by training and actually just graduated in May 2020. But while in pharmacy school and as an undergrad, I've run a couple businesses, and my latest business, Uptown Creation, is a social media marketing agency. So we put a lot of focus on Instagram, and now, as of the last year, more so on LinkedIn. So really diving deep into how healthcare as a whole, specifically pharmacists as well, are able to, establish their online presence and get benefit while also being able to give something to the community.
I think that is so cool to be talking to the millennials now, and there's like, well, I'm on my third business already. I just graduated in May. I think that's really cool. And you're hearing more and more of that now. It's just remarkable. And I think the computer has leveled the playing field for everybody to do that.
Yeah. And I think that's the punchline is that, growing up with the internet and being able to see other people that were my age making businesses and doing businesses and knowing that was a tangible thing, you weren't always seeing 17-year-olds running their own businesses, yes, at least publicly. Because of social media, you're able to share that publicly. So that really serves as motivation, but also the tangible thing that makes it attainable, because you're seeing somebody else that doesn't really have different circumstances than you, right, but is putting in the work and able to achieve this thing so you can go do it yourself.
Chris, when I was your age, graduating college, I had a mentor in the neighborhood association. He would get all kinds of press, and I learned under him, and he would teach me whom to call in the paper and how hungry they were for information and not to be afraid of them and things like that. But the difference I tell my kids now, there's no middleman anymore, Yeah. The middleman doesn't exist. Now, that can be good and bad because anybody's able to do it now, but the skill of the relationship of the middleman, of calling up the people at the press and using some schmoozing skills, to get on. Those were part of the skills to get on. And now those skills aren't used, but you don't need those skills to get on. However, anybody can get on now. And so the whole game is raised up. It used to be that, for example, I had this guy would always brag about his kid being a great downhill alpine skier. And I'm like, yeah, that's good. Except, 1 out of 1,000 kids do that. Well, that's how maybe the news in Hollywood used to be. But now it's like anybody can do it. So it's kind of like the soccer of the world now, where anybody can pick up a soccer ball and play. And so when you're good at soccer, you're really, really good. And when you're good then at the internet, you're really, really good now because there's so much competition.
Yeah, I like that. I like that analogy a lot. And the funny thing with it all is I think the competition really becomes the execution of it and just being able to be consistent. And so when it comes to social media, from everything that I've learned over the last 5 years of being like in the trenches with Instagram and LinkedIn is really that consistency wins, and literally 99.9% of people aren't going to have that consistency. So if you're able to form the discipline or set a goal and just have that consistency down, you're already in the top 1% or above. So that consistency really is what puts you in the top 1%. And then that's the game that you're playing. Then that's where, the little things that you can do, like including hashtags, making a story that's relatable, being a good storyteller, being relatable, and just sharing things that are, we always talk about the 2 E's of social media and content. And So it's education and entertainment. And if you can hit on both of those things, then you're creating good content. And that's the content that's really going to resonate with people.
Tell me what you mean by consistency.
Yeah. And so I talk a lot about this with my clients, and to everybody, it means something a little bit different in terms of posting on social media, but consistency in terms of posting on social media really is going to be what you're able to sustain. So if you're able to post, 10 times on LinkedIn a week, that's great. But most people are going to be more in the 1 to 3 post range. So really just making it so you don't burn yourself out and do 10 posts 1 week, but then you don't do anything for 3 weeks. It'd be a lot better just to do, 2 posts a week and build up that momentum. And that's kind of how the social media algorithms work, because they want people to use their platform. And so when people are using their platform, you're getting the dopamine from likes and everything. And it keeps you going.
So the consistency you're talking about is mainly the timing consistency. What are your thoughts, or what about any other consistencies, such as, for example, with TikTok now or Reels on Instagram or something, and you see that someone's a dancer, and they've got 6 dance videos.
Yeah.
Consistency, would that also include making that 7th one a dance video too? Or could that be anything? What are your thoughts on a consistent style?
Yeah, that is a great question. I think that depends on your goals. And the reason that I frame it like that is if it's personal branding and you're trying to build a personal presence and you're playing the long game, I think you should share the content that's relevant to you at that time. So the nice thing about LinkedIn is that it's in its infancy with respect to becoming the professional Facebook, professional social media that it is.
Yeah.
LinkedIn's been around forever, but people still view it as the place to put out your resume and get a job rather than, the professional place to network and everything. So in terms of playing the long game, I think it is important to share what's ever current with you. In terms of gaming the algorithm, so for Instagram, for example, Instagram's going to prefer you to make that 7th video a dance video. Mm-hmm. That's just from the algorithmic perspective. So I go back and forth with this in my head even.
To let our listeners know is, as you were saying earlier, and just let me rephrase that too, it's like Instagram could not care less whose video they're showing. Their main goal is to have Chris on there or Mike on there flipping through that for the longest time. And if they could do that with 1 million pictures in a row of, LeBron James or, Michael Jackson or whatever, they would do that. They don't care about getting your stuff on there. That algorithm is to keep you on there, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then it plays from the content creator's perspective to keep them creating content as well as the viewer's perspective. But at the end of the day, all social media that is not paid for is trying to make their money off of ads. And they make their money off of ads by keeping your eyes on their platform as long as possible.
Wait, say that again. See, you're bringing me all these new thoughts. So you already brought me the thought about, because I was telling my kids how great it is to do business, but with the current platforms, but they're already seeing that, like you're saying, from other 16 and 17-year-olds or 12-year-olds on there. So they don't need their old man for me to preach about that. They're already seeing it. And what you're saying now too is that I just got done talking about Instagram not caring how the producer feels. They want the viewer to be on it. You said something different, that they want to give you as a creator enough dopamine to keep you coming back, right?
Right. And for example, so when Snapchat came out and Snapchat was doing stories, Instagram made their own version of Instagram stories. And now with TikTok, Instagram made Reels to kind of be the competitor with TikTok. And so making those features for the creators so they don't find another medium that they like creating more, whether it's stories or Reels, and then they go to another platform, drop Instagram, And now that other platform serves them better. So Instagram kind of has to play it on both sides. They have to play it to keep asset with them as well as be able to monetize it on the other end. This is just a thought that came to my mind, but it makes perfect sense that there's probably going to be a social media platform that goes to, I'm sure this has happened already and just not succeeded, but goes to the creators, offers them a stipend or a salary to come and create content on their platform and have that exclusivity deal. So like Joe Rogan got the exclusivity deal with Spotify. I'm sure that social media is going to make a similar play with that eventually. And I mean, it just takes Google to come in with the next thing and then make it be, it could even be a paid for subscription model where you pay $5 a month to be on this social media platform. But now you're not bombarded by ads. You're not bombarded by kind of the BS that comes along with the free for subscription. So I'm sure that'll happen eventually.
Yeah, what Rogan get $100 million for 3 years or something?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's only going to be on there along with his videos too.
Right. Yeah, Spotify's trying to go that video route and play with that.
Do they even have video yet, Spotify?
They just have like when you're listening to a song, if it's a popular song,
Gotcha.
They'll play like a repeat of a 15-second clip.
A clip or something on it.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting with that. And what's interesting to me is in the day of the cancel culture, I don't know if you know the name Norm Macdonald. He's a comedian and they do about whatever they want to on YouTube. But as soon as he got on Netflix, like the next day he was on like Barbara Walters' show, apologizing for something. And you wonder, like with Rogan, who can now basically say, hey, I'm on a dozen platforms. Screw you. If you don't want me on here, they'll pick me up on YouTube or the other 11 platforms. And you wonder if he's going to have to change it all when he's got that much coming from one source.
Right. And I think that's an interesting thing to have to hedge when you're at that level. And I think it's similar I'm sure that's existed with record labels and all of that, and labels dropping people and producers dropping people. So yeah. It's an interesting aspect for the people that have made it, so to speak, at when you're too big to fail and when you could be on the downswing and actually fail.
I guess I'll never get to that point, but at least it's fun to talk about it.
Definitely.
With Rogan, it kind of goes in reverse a little bit about what I was saying about the middleman, because now, in a way, they're kind of trying to please that middleman where, the internet hasn't really gone before. Now you're seeing it a lot too with the social platforms, with the election coming up, with the truth finders, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. How did you first take a liking to this stuff, Chris? Was this in high school, and where did you latch on to this more? And when did you start thinking about more outside yourself instead of saying you're going to do this? It was like, wait a minute, I'm in pharmacy now. There's people that need this and so on. How did that come together?
Yeah. And so I've always just liked to have what I call side hustles and things that are on the side as a place where I can go and put X amount of time in and then reap some sort of benefit, whether it's personal benefit, monetary, whatever it is. And so, I did that with video games when I was, even before high school. I would sell virtual currency essentially. And I guess that was probably my first entrepreneurial venture.
Virtual currency, like Reddit coins, or what is that? Yeah,
so it was in World of Warcraft. I would sell gold. So the currency in World of Warcraft, when I was 12, 13, I was selling that. And I was making a couple $100 here and there, which is big money.
Wait, what do you get for buying that?
You get stuff in the game then. So the people who bought it from me were able to go and spend that virtual currency on items and stuff like that.
And you got it by being a good player.
Right, yeah. And just from a time perspective. So the people, they're saving time by buying it. So they don't have to go and...
They don't have to go through all the levels and stuff.
Right. Yeah. So that was probably one of the early ventures that I did. And I've always just had kind of things like that. Then fast forward to college. I went to college at University of Iowa for both undergrad and pharmacy school.
Where's your hometown?
So I'm from the southwest suburbs of Chicago. So I'm from Illinois.
How far is Iowa then from you?
It's about 3.5 hours. So it was far enough away that I got to go away to college and not have my parents visit me every weekend. But I was still close enough that I could go and visit them when I wanted to. And that's the joke that I was at.
And it's not just the visiting. They can't pop in on you. They're not going to drive 3.5 hours to surprise you. A girlfriend might do that, but not a parent.
Yeah. But at the University of Iowa, it probably wasn't until my junior year of college, but I discovered that they had like an entrepreneurship program. And that was the first time that the ideas that I kind of already had were like given a name, and then other people were having these ideas as well. So that was really the first time that I started like meeting friends that kind of had the same level of ambition and just like to like throw stuff against a wall and see what happens. So that was really fun for me.
Financially, right? I mean, business-wise.
Right. Yeah, business-wise. And, you know, I've always wanted to like find unique ways to make money, but the money's never really been the important aspect from it. It's more just fun to build something. It's like going and playing with Legos.
It's fun building, and the money can be kind of points to see if you're on the right track, but not necessarily the first goal.
Yeah. So the first serious business that I had was a solo venture where I would sell stuff, and I still do this to this day. I sell stuff on Amazon through drop shipping. So finding product other places online and selling those products on Amazon. So selling a physical product became kind of an infatuation for me, and buying something cheaper and selling it for more money. That was the game that I played.
This is like through Alibaba. What is it? Alibaba or no?
Alibaba and AliExpress are definitely places to do it. I was doing it just through eBay. So I would find products on eBay. I would list them on Amazon. Then somebody would go to Amazon and purchase them from me. Then I would go back to eBay and put in their shipping information. So then my eBay seller would ship it right to my Amazon customer.
Were those like used products or were those new products?
So they're brand new, yeah. And that's why the price disparity existed, is because most people think eBay is like secondhand. There's a ton of, big box wholesalers that they just have their products on there because it's another channel to sell stuff through.
And what you sold it for, you knew that you would win. You would either buy it now or win the bid, or I guess it was buy it now probably, so you knew for sure you could get it?
Yeah, so it was only buy it now, and it was only products that had an inventory. So that was kind of the caveat that I had to look for when I was searching for products. Was
they had to have enough inventory, right?
Right. Exactly. So if I sold one in 2 weeks, I knew that I could go back to it and it would still be there.
Yeah.
And it happened sometimes that it wasn't, and then I'd have to go figure out where else on the internet I could buy it.
Right.
And take a loss maybe.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you're getting the product to the customer. The thing that taught me more so than anything was customer service, because that's what the job became. And inevitably why I needed to start hiring people, because, my job was customer service essentially. Since I already had the products listed and those were selling, all I had to deal with were the problems. So if you don't know, Amazon has a very strict seller policy. So that's why they can sell things for more. So from my perspective, I kind of had to do everything that the customer needed me to do to be able to keep selling on Amazon and not have them shut me down.
Oh, Amazon can raise their price a little bit because people trust it and they know you're not going to get screwed by a possible eBay person or something like that. Even though that may not be true, Amazon has that trust built up.
Right. And they have that trust by being super strict on the sellers. So I had that kind of motivation to be really, really good at customer service. So I did that for 2-3 years, and then
devil's advocate, Chris.
Yeah.
So you're selling something on eBay and you want to do well, but then this thing comes from the eBay guy and it's got, they've used crayon instead of ink to write, whatever. The package is wrapped in old twine or something like that. I'm joking, but how did you know? Did the customers, did they suspect, like when it came from the eBay people, did it have any of your stamp on it, or was it all the eBay sellers?
So the first question about like quality control, essentially, at the end of the day, it comes up to me to vet it, So I would like do test purchases and make sure that the quality was there. And then the other aspect of like researching the product came into researching the seller as well.
Gotcha.
So if there was a seller that had a product that I wanted and it was cheap, but they were getting awful reviews saying that, it's counterfeit, it's secondhand, whatever, then that's kind of the job of me to be able to say, I'll take the 10-cent hit and go for the more expensive product.
Right.
So yeah, that's where I could have failed very easily, I think, if I would have just not looked at the quality.
Give me one example of a product that you might have done.
Yeah. So the funny thing with it is it's all the non-sexy products that you would never expect to sell. So,
sure,
like dog shock collars were a big product of mine. I was selling a lot of like second and third generation cell phones because those weren't available in stores anymore.
Yeah.
So everything was, becoming a smartphone at that time. So it was really hard to find a Razr flip phone, and it was really hard to find like a construction phone and stuff.
And it still would have been new.
Right. Yeah. It still would
just never sold.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the biggest product that I ever had was Bluetooth headsets. So I got lucky, and it was just serendipity that, because when you're doing this, you list products on Amazon, and I might list 100 products and only 5 of them sell. So it just so happened that Bluetooth headsets started to sell for me. And as I looked more into kind of the reasons, because I had a day where, I got 70 orders from Maryland.
Really?
And that really, sparked my interest on why it was. And it was something that it was either like July 1st or maybe it was January 1. But a new law had passed that required people to do hands-free in a car. So they couldn't be on their phone anymore. So
right.
being able to see how that trend played out, I went and listed a ton more Bluetooth products and ended up doing pretty well just by looking for those laws and then looking in advance what states were about to pass those laws, and trying to get ahead of that.
Was that a physical transfer? You had to do some copying, pasting, and things like that? Or did you have any computer program that would do the shift from the eBay description over to your site?
Yeah, so I did it all by hand. And I talked to a lot of like tech savvy people that told me that I could save a lot of time by not doing it by hand.
Yeah.
But I was learning too. I'm a very hands-on learner, so
right. And you don't miss stuff that way either. I mean,
exactly.
you start cutting copy, and pretty soon you're not reading things like you should, and
right. And like I said,
that kind of stuff.
Amazon's very strict, so that's kind of the difference between the people that make it and the people that don't, is those little nuances.
And your eBay sellers, they didn't care who they were sending it to; they were just happy to sell it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, they were happy they were getting whatever the price they listed it for. And then to answer your second question, the Amazon customers, I thought that they were going to care, but they didn't care at all. I think maybe in my entire duration of selling the first 3 years, maybe 2 people mentioned something.
Oh,
and
gotcha.
They just mentioned it. They weren't even really like mad about it or anything, because they were just happy to get, the product in a timely manner that they wanted.
It sounds to me like you really picked up on a good trend there, because if I go to eBay and if I see something, let's say for a buy now and something new, it's $20, And if I see it at, Amazon and it's $24, well, I'm going to buy it from Amazon. It's easier. I trust it. It's at 20% marketing that Amazon has won over now with their good service. Yeah. And then you took advantage of that because you're under a little more scrutiny. You've got to maybe respond more quickly or do this or that. And so then you're getting paid for that extra effort, and then hopefully some on top of that with that spread.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I say that my job just became customer service, because at the end of the day, that was the differentiator.
That's a differentiator.
I was making it so the customer that purchased it from me got the quality product that they were expecting in the time manner that they were expecting to get it in. Yep. And that if they didn't, that I would correct any of those problems and make it right, whether it was given, a 20% discount or reshipping a product and taking a loss.
Right.
But doing all those customer service things.
All right. So at some point, what became the bottleneck for that, right? Because there's always a bottleneck, or else right now you'd have 100 employees and you'd be doing this. So what became the bottleneck on that little side hustle gig that you had thought up?
Yeah. So the bottleneck became my time eventually.
Yeah.
And essentially, so that was before I was even like hiring employees or even thought about that. It was really hard for me to let go of responsibility at first because, like I said, the whole reason I was in business was customer service and not missing the little things.
Exactly right.
So that was something really hard for me to give up eventually. So I was the bottleneck for a really long time, and I would sit there and copy and paste products for like 3 hours after class, and then respond to emails for another 2 hours after class. And, I got into it because I didn't want to work the typical job. Yeah. And I wanted to have more time freedom, but ended up losing that. So that's kind of where something had to give.
It's like all the marketing thing you see online, quit your job and work only, 4 hours, Yeah, it doesn't quite go that way.
Yeah. And so I actually ended up taking time off of Amazon for that reason. And I took a couple of years off of selling on Amazon until I found a company that allowed me to hire and outsource people that were doing the same thing and do like a revenue share.
Really?
Type deal. So that's kind of the deal that I have going right now with Amazon, is being able to do a revenue share with the team. So it maintains quality because they're incentivized by how much they sell and by maintaining the store and keeping it up and everything.
It's basically you've built the business where these are the employees, and now you're getting paid more for your expertise in finding the correct spread and
my line of credit.
Tell me about that, your line of credit.
I don't ever purchase a product until I sell it, but Amazon won't give me that money right away until I fulfill it. So if somebody buys a $30 product for me and I'm buying it for $20 at another site, I need to go and front that $20, even though I know the $30 is going to come.
And what's the delay on that?
It's about 2 to 3 weeks.
So if everything goes well, you could do that with a revolving, 30-day paid off credit card, but things don't always go that way. And then you quickly lose 18% APY if something goes the wrong way, right?
Yeah. And luckily I haven't had that happen. Well, I've had things go the wrong way plenty of times, but I haven't had to pay interest on anything. There was a time where I was on vacation in Yellowstone National Park and my store got shut down for some metric things. And when your store gets shut down, Amazon holds all your money. So I was in that scenario where I had like a $20,000 credit bill coming up and Amazon was holding on to my $30,000. So I had to scramble to make it so interest didn't kick in.
Yeah. So that's still going. So your economies of scale are probably clicking in. Now, what's going to be the bottleneck now?
Yeah. Now the bottleneck's my credit, my line of credit.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, your credit.
Yeah, that's the bottleneck currently.
That's the pain of growth, right?
Yeah. And I've learned a lot about credit as well. And I thought that as long as I paid off my credit card bill and kept things rolling, they would just keep increasing my credit. But that definitely is capped out. I guess for good reason, banks will only give you a certain amount of credit given your assets. And even if you have a ton of assets, they'll still only give you a certain amount of credit. Yeah,
I suppose that's right. I remember years ago, I had like a line of credit with the pharmacy, and business was more consistent back then, and I think it was in 2008 or something like that. I remember saying to my bankers, like, I could take any line of credit basically I want to, right? And they're like, no, you really couldn't right now during this time of, flux with the banks and things like that, It's like, oh, I never knew there was
I never knew there was a limit.
I never knew there was a cap on that.
Yeah. So that's been a learning.
You're steady as she goes on that now, or are you kind of like at a certain limit and you won't go higher right now because of the credit? You can only invest so much right now.
You shouldn't really go over 150,000 in sales a month anyways, because Amazon they'll categorize you a little bit differently, and then you'll have to abide by different rules and things become a little bit more stringent. So that's kind of where I'm going to stay anyways. And if I wanted to, I could open up more stores and figure out ways to do that. But I'm happy with that being essentially passive. I struggle with using the word passive because nothing is really passive.
Yeah.
But it's as passive as it could be right now. So that's just going steady.
I know the service is very important, on Amazon and so on. How much do you have to spend with the algorithms of that as far as like asking for ratings and then trying to get your product on, let's say you're selling an alarm clock where everybody else, you'll look up and there'll be like 10 bestsellers and you're like, wait a minute, there can't be 10 bestsellers. So you go in there and one of them is the bestseller for an alarm clock. One, I'm joking, but, one would be enormous wristwatches, and one would be bedside alarm, and one would be studying alarm, and one would be wind up alarm. Right. And, so there's all ways to become number one and all that kind of stuff. Do you have to deal a lot with that, or?
I've looked into those types of business models and played around with them a little bit back when I was more in the trenches. But luckily with the model that I run right now is I'm only selling products that are like big brands. So maybe I'm selling Samsung phones. Maybe I'm selling, like Cottonelle paper towels and toilet paper. So I get to take advantage of their marketing dollars as well as Amazon as a platform. And then it just makes it so my margins are a little bit more slim. But I don't have to deal with building up a page, building up a product, holding inventory, or doing any of those things.
You don't have to prove that let's just say alarm clock. You don't have to prove that yours is better than someone else. Basically, you're buying, whatever, a Timex or Sunbeam alarm clock, and already people know the brand and trust it and things like that. Right. So you'll get enough sales without trying to manipulate in any way some unknown thing from China that you just happen to put a sticker on and make it your own logo kind of thing.
Exactly. And I've tried doing the purchasing in bulk and selling wholesale. And that's just a whole nother can of worms that I didn't necessarily want to learn at the time, since I already had put all the time into drop shipping and learning those nuances.
Right.
Those same nuances exist, but I would have been starting from square one. But that's kind of the transition point of where physical products and my infatuation with selling physical products when I was an undergrad in college leads into kind of the social media stuff and how I got into that. And so this is probably like 4 or 5 years ago now, Instagram was talking about releasing something called shopping on Instagram, which they actually like just released within the last couple months officially. But with selling stuff on Amazon, I was seeing Amazon take a huge cut because they take about 15%. So they take about 15%. And then so whatever margin on top of that, that's going to be your profit. I think the third-party sellers have exceeded the revenue of Amazon and them selling their products themselves. So that's kind of what...
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that's kind of what they've created inadvertently, but then they just learned to roll with it and pivoted with it.
Their warehouses are not small, so if they didn't have to touch product, they'd probably be happy too.
Right. Yes.
So back to your pivot then.
So at that time I had a friend who's now my business partner, and has been for the last 5 years with Uptown Creation, but he was selling physical products kind of by the way of holding inventory.
Holding it, but at Amazon?
Right, at Amazon, yeah.
That's interesting because, people can say they're hands off, but you're really hands off. But some people, I've got a friend that has water filters and he sells, worms of some sort, dry worms or something like that. But it's still their product, right. But Amazon has it. Yeah. So he was doing that.
Right. And so then we both saw that Amazon was taking big margins and, looking for ways to sell on different platforms and find ways of getting around those margins. So Instagram was talking about shopping on Instagram. So our idea was to go and make like an Instagram page, and we were going to sell these like mugs, like tumblers essentially.
Sure.
So we made an Instagram page, never sold a tumbler on there. But in doing that...
Wait, why didn't you sell any? Because they never launched?
Just because the page didn't gain enough traction at first.
Was that through a paid ad?
So no, we weren't doing any paid ads. We were just doing kind of organic posting and then Instagram growth hacks, which was my new infatuation.
People could click on that and it would send them to a buy page or something? Or?
So initially it was just you'd have a link in the bio and then you'd be able to drive traffic to that link that is in your bio. Right now, though, you're able to sell products on Instagram.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, Instagram actually has like a cart, so you can buy products on Instagram without ever leaving the platform.
They probably have realized pretty quickly I'm not a teenage girl. they're like, what the hell are we going to sell that guy? We know he's a 53-year-old old fart. What are we going to sell him? But nothing ever comes up.
Here's the aside that I'll have just really quick. And this isn't even that novel of a prediction, but I believe that Instagram will try to serve the purpose of what like a mall serves as. So you're scrolling through your feed and you see somebody wearing a cool shirt that you like, being able to click on that and then buy it from there.
Mail Online, it's that London news aggregator. I guess they write their own stuff, but they'll do that. If you're reading through and you see some Hollywood stuff, and they'll have then ads of what the person's wearing right below that and so on. So yeah, that's right there, it seems.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how Instagram kind of runs with their shopping platform and everything. But going back to me trying to sell tumblers, what I was trying to do then is, like, the only way to get sales is if you're getting eyeballs on that page. So that's what I just became obsessed with. And eventually that's why that became the start of Uptown Creation as a social media company. Is eventually, after so much trial and error and making a bunch of different Instagram accounts and trying a bunch of different stuff, I became really good at growing Instagram accounts and driving traffic in that way. And so people were coming to us to purchase that rather than our physical product. So that was the first initial pivot of moving toward being consulting and growth on Instagram. And then that just kind of took off.
In defining Instagram growth, that would be how many likes your page has, basically?
Yeah, so likes and followers.
Followers, I guess, right?
Yeah. And really, I'd define it as like how many eyeballs and the attention that you're getting on your page from the right people.
Yeah. Interesting.
So that's what Uptown Creation was for 3 years prior to moving into the LinkedIn space.
The only thing that caught me is you talked about a partner. I always thought, don't get a partner.
Yeah, and I was against that with my first business venture.
But sometimes you bring a certain vibe. So what was that you saw?
And truthfully, it was the time aspect, because I knew that I was in pharmacy school at that point. So it was either do the business, give up a little bit of control and actually like get it done and have that business versus either trying on my own and not sleeping or not doing the business at all. So that's kind of where my acceptance of having a partner and, why it makes sense a lot of times to be able to do something with somebody else. Yeah.
And sometimes it's intangibles, especially when you got a business like that, which is, in the cloud. I mean, it's kind of intangible, and having the business is kind of intangible, and having a partner to keep you going. I mean, to look at someone and say, oh, that's my business. If not, I really don't know what my business looks like. It's all in the cloud kind of thing.
Exactly. And we were lucky enough that our skill sets are different enough.
For sure.
And he became the front end salesperson. And he drove and still drives our sales. And then I'm kind of the back end fulfillment person. And even since then, we've brought on 2 other people as equity partners that can serve as the thing that allowed us to scale.
Yeah, I saw your website, and you've got a woman on the team.
Yeah. I don't think our new website's up yet, but our new website should be up in a couple weeks.
Oh, I look forward to seeing it. So you said, all right, I'm not selling these mugs, but I'm doing a damn good job of growing Instagram accounts. And other people who maybe wanted to grow their Instagram, either to sell something or just to get a big Instagram account, took notice. And so you guys form your Uptown Creations, and you say, we're going to get these accounts popular for you.
Yeah. And that was kind of the inception of that. And then how I talked about with Amazon, my job became customer service essentially. With Instagram and even with LinkedIn, being a service-based business, it still is. And I think that's the reason why Uptown Creation has had the level of success that it has, is because if you're able to understand people and talk to people and genuinely care about those people, it just leads to good business. And a lot of the competitors in the space, so in Instagram growth specifically, there's varying degrees and levels of Instagram growth and quality perspective. So we always came into it as we were going to be like top tier premium level quality as well as service. And that's kind of how we beat out our competitors who might have had cheaper prices, but provided an inferior service, essentially. It has gotten a lot harder over the last 5 years and a lot more expensive, which is one of the reasons why we ended up pivoting into the space that we're in now, as well as for a number of other reasons.
Harder because there's more people? I mean, people only have so many likes in them and there's more competition on Instagram?
So there's more competition, and some of the tactics that we used were probably in a gray area, and Instagram didn't necessarily like it, but they didn't hate it enough to, like completely ban things and make it, because it's good for their platform to an extent. As long, like there's a point where things turn into like spam and then inauthenticity. And so as long as you're not going into that territory, it's good for Instagram as well.
Well, I know back in the day, this is like probably, 10 years ago, I could put up anything on Facebook with the store and, you'd have 300 likes or something quickly. And now it's like people just don't even see your stuff because of the saturation, what we talked about earlier. So Instagram got more expensive. What were the words you used? More difficult or more?
Yeah. And for a number of reasons. And to echo what you just said, I think that'll provide clarity into the next question that you had as well. Every social media company and social media platform will have a similar life cycle to what you explained. How, 12 years ago, you could post anything on Facebook and it'd get 300 likes.
Yeah.
The cool thing is LinkedIn is in a similar spot to that right now.
Yeah. And
the reason why that exists is the platform isn't saturated with content. So there's more eyeballs trying to view content than there are people putting out content.
Yes.
So your content organically can gain a lot of traction because your competition's not there. And you don't even have to be good. You just have to be there. And if you're putting out anything, it gets shown.
Well, I tell you, LinkedIn, I started a group, independent pharmacy group back like 11, 12 years ago on LinkedIn, pretty much at its infancy. Boy, LinkedIn sucked for a long time until Microsoft bought them. I mean, their user interface, it just sucked. And I was thinking to myself always, it's like, this is, and it's going to remain like the main business interaction. How can this be so bad, And then, and that's from me. I wouldn't know how to change it. But then Microsoft came in and LinkedIn really, really took a leap, 3-4 years ago. Just for example, like their group settings were pretty difficult, like even 4 years ago. Too many choices, too many ways to do things. And now they've kind of cleaned it up.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why I talk about LinkedIn as it being kind of an infant platform, even though it's been around forever, because I don't see it as being what it is today until like 2-3 years ago. But that was because Microsoft bought it and kind of changed their whole vision for the platform.
Yeah.
And so going back to like how all social media platforms evolve is you're trying to get people on, and by bringing in new creators and allowing them to get a lot of reach, you're also showing it to a lot of people. That is the way that social media platforms get people to use their platform, is by, giving that organic reach for creators to be able to, put out a piece of content and get a lot of eyeballs on it and get that attention. And then same for that brings users naturally by just having good content. Mm-hmm. And then as platforms evolve, they become more pay to play is what they call them. So a platform's end goal is always to make money from ads. And if you're giving people all organic reach, there's not a big incentive for them to spend money if they don't need to. So that's kind of when I say Instagram became more hard or more difficult, it's because it became more of a pay to play platform. And as it became more saturated and they just increased users by hundreds and hundreds of millions, they didn't need to provide as much organic reach, or it just became as saturated that majority of people's content couldn't beat out the algorithm to get shown without having to pay money.
Right.
And that's how Instagram makes money and Facebook makes money, is off of ads.
when we hear ads, most people my age are thinking, an ad for Tide detergent or something, but we're just talking here about a promoted post, right? That's going to show something in it that sometimes you don't even realize it's an ad.
Exactly, yeah.
Off on a little tangent, Chris.
Yeah.
When Instagram said, like a year ago, I guess it was, or it seems less, but maybe it was a year ago, where they weren't going to have likes anymore on it.
Yeah.
And I was curious in that, and wasn't part of that because a lot of the advertising dollar was sneaking past Instagram, and people were going right to the Kardashians or something and say, look, I'm not going to pay Instagram. I know you have millions of likes. Here, I'm going to pay you this. You show the product. And Instagram just kind of lost out on it, right? It didn't have to go through them.
Right. So that was one of the reasons, definitely, because so what they made it, if likes aren't public, then it means that the Kardashians would have to show you their analytics from the back end. And so they could either like take screenshots and send that to you, or you could, let's say that Uptown Creation wanted to do a paid post with the Kardashians. I could become like a partner with the Kardashians, and then I would get access to their analytics on the back end.
Gotcha.
But now Instagram knows Uptown Creation and the Kardashians are working together, and they could request some middleman money in there. Let's say that the transaction is $500,000. Maybe they could scrape 10% off of that from doing it on a safe place.
You could have done your own homework by knowing they're still popular and looked at other things and stuff, but this gives you some, if they were able to hide that, it gave you a reason to say, well, we need to show the analytics to our customers as Uptown Creations. We just can't say, well, we think the Kardashians are pretty popular. Right. They need something to go on.
The narrative that they tried to share was that it was for like mental health reasons, because checking likes and everything. Yeah. But also people doing things like what I was doing, where you're able to get people more likes, then it makes it so that kind of doesn't have a purpose anymore if you can't track likes. I don't think that they're going to do that because they got a lot of pushback from their community. And
they tried it in Finland or something.
Right. And what I think they found out, I don't think they've said this publicly though, is that how we talked about earlier, the balance between keeping the creator happy and keeping the user happy, it made it so the creator wasn't happy with that system because for example, like let's say that you're at a high level and the way that you're going to look for inspiration or try to find things that are working is you're going to go and follow all the other people that are in your niche and look at the content that's performing well.
Sure.
You'd never be able to do that type of research on your own or anything like that.
You don't know, only by talking to your friends. Hey, which ones do you like or something?
Exactly, yeah.
One really hard analytic right now is podcasting. It's really hard to tell.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see your own, but it's hard to tell other people. I mean, you can go by ratings and stuff like that, but hey, I'm all for it as a new, smaller show because no one can stack me up against Rogan or something like that and see like what our numbers are. So I'm all for that. But when you're up there with numbers, the opposite of me, you'd kind of want to show your stuff. Chris, because of that saturation, you move on to LinkedIn. But let me ask you this. Social media, relatively new, 20 years, whatever. Facebook and Instagram, they already have that probably planned out, right? They know where Facebook's going to be 10 years from now, and they know they have to now buy into well, not anymore, but because Oracle got TikTok, but they got to do certain things. And that's no surprise, right? Oh, it's a lot longer cycle, but it's just like fads or a movie where a movie's life might be 4 days or maybe 11 days, 2 weekends in the week. The social media already knows this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think they're even able to predict the trends. And I like what Gary Vaynerchuk talks about he is like platform agnostic. And I think that's the way that you have to be.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
You just have to care where the attention is because the principles, and that's why we were able to pivot to LinkedIn so easily.
Right.
Is the principles are the same. Like creating good content is going to be the reason people find success on any social platform.
Yes.
And then being able to be consistent, put out good content. And then the most important part becomes how do you get it seen by the right people and get it seen by the people that want to see it?
You're absolutely right about being agnostic of the method because, it's kind of like, a friend, whether you're meeting with a friend over coffee or at McDonald's or at a new frozen yogurt thing, or there's still some basics to stuff. There might be a little bit different ways you do stuff, but there's basically, let's put it this way. It's agnostic. It might take you an hour to learn how to tap on something differently, or you only get 6 seconds on Vine versus something else on this, but it's all the same.
Yeah.
All right. But the shift from Instagram to LinkedIn, I know they're all different because I know that Facebook is trending older now and this and that, but a shift from Facebook to Snapchat to Instagram to TikTok to Reels, from the old Vine and all that stuff. It's like, all right, I can see all that. But LinkedIn seems like a whole different crowd. And what did it take to say, all right, we're LinkedIn now versus strong on Instagram?
LinkedIn was always interesting to me. So even while all my eggs were kind of in the Instagram bucket, I was doing things on LinkedIn for myself and for my own personal brand. And just because I knew that, like, if I had any aptitude for social media, I may as well use it for my profession as well in whatever way that can help me in the future. So that's how and like I said, I'm the service side of Uptown Creation. So what I go out and do is learn something, use it usually for myself as well as our business internally. And then if it makes sense, apply it to other people. And that's kind of how we started off. We were doing something for ourselves and eventually we got good at it and then started to do it for other people. Eventually we did start selling products and we got to the level where we could sell our own products and everything. On Instagram. And then, so to answer your question more about the pivot, essentially it was a forced pivot in a way because, like I was saying, all platforms are going to have a life cycle. Yeah. And the life cycle of organic was decreasing, and is decreasing on LinkedIn, but was decreasing from day one that we started on Instagram. So it was kind of like a downhill trend from how Instagram will show it. So our methods became less effective. And initially we were using automation and doing things with bots, but doing it in a good way. So you're able to, as long as you make the settings the right way, that like you can gain a lot of good traction from doing things that way. What we learned on Instagram though was social media platforms are never going to like automation. So you're always going to be fighting a battle if you want to be in that gray area and use bots and automation to supplement the activities that you're doing.
Yeah. And for the listeners, that might be something like, on Instagram, let's say you have your own Instagram account and someone likes you and you say, oh, that person liked me. Well, I'm going to like them back.
Exactly.
Or some of the bots might like people, and then when they get liked back, then they might drop those people and go on and like some more people and so on. So it's not like you're getting into it's not like you're hacking in and changing numbers.
Exactly, yeah.
You're just doing things
automated
quickly, automated what humans are doing.
So like a tangible example is, so we worked with woodworking companies, and the way that those woodworking companies make a lot of sales is through interior designers. So if an interior designer likes their work, that designer gets a client who needs a table, then they might go to the woodworker and buy that table. So we had the accounts that were our woodworkers going and interacting with these interior designers, whether it's through like liking pictures, commenting on their posts. And then that makes it so the interior designers might reach out in a direct message, and then that starts a human to human conversation with our woodworker. So that's kind of like the way that those things would work. And we were working with a lot of businesses on Instagram as well. So we were already doing kind of the B2B thing just on Instagram. So moving into LinkedIn, which is primarily a B2B platform, became pretty intuitive. But to go back 2 years, Instagram made a huge algorithm change, and they made a ton of companies like what Uptown Creation was doing at the time go out of business because they made it so automation took a huge hit, and those actions just wouldn't take place. You'd get action blocks and it just wouldn't work.
Or they'd allow you to do 50 or something like that, right?
Right. And that's why I say that it gets harder. Like 7 years ago, you could do whatever you wanted. I mean, you could go like 3,000 pictures in a day and you'd be fine. I mean, you'll get an action block if you do that with 50 to 100 now. So that change made it so we either went out of business or we had to make a change ourselves. And the initial change that we made was we made everything 100% human powered. So we hired on people to do the actions themselves. So then you're able to do it in a way where you're not getting a block, because there's certain nuances that Instagram could detect from bots.
Kind of like that CAPTCHA thing where, like, how do they know just I'm checking it even though I'm a human? It's like, well, they know because you're an old fart and your mouse goes past it and then it comes back and then it goes past it and it finally finds the middle of it and clicks on it. Well, they know things like that.
Exactly, yeah. So our first pivot was to do everything 100% human powered, which allowed us to stay in business and, even grow at that time because everybody else was going out of business. But we were able to maintain because we made that change, but it became more expensive, which is fine. That's expected. But the unfortunate thing from a business side that ended up happening is our services went up, but what Instagram allowed you to do went down. So it was really, really, really hard for people to pay more money to get less than what they were used to for the last 5 years. Even though it's the best that they could have gotten at the time, it just wasn't. It's a hard thing for them to do. And it's a hard thing to sell them. The things that we learned there and learned on Instagram entirely was we were getting followers and likes and eyeballs, but that wasn't leading to direct ROI correlation. A lot of times how marketing is, like, you can't always, if you have a billboard or a sign on a bench, you can't always say, oh, that's how this person came to me.
Were you not getting ROI because the investment costs more money now?
I still think the ROI was there. It's just a harder sell to the client.
The investment's higher.
Right. The investment's higher and the results might be lower. And you can't say, unless you do some like hardcore analytics and tracking, like, oh, this activity which caused this person to follow me, then 3 months later they made this purchase. Like, those things aren't always trackable.
The return might have been there per eyeball, but not per dollar spent because it costs more to do it.
Right. And yeah, so it was a blessing in disguise that Instagram made it so we had to pivot, make everything human powered, make everything done by hand. One of the services we started to provide on Instagram was the Gary V $1.80 strategy. And so the concept was to go out, find people, leave genuine comments and real comments. So that was the first service that we kind of pivoted to.
That was give someone your 2 cents. So 90 times a day, say, hey, I like your cat or something like that.
Yeah. And reading the caption, providing conversation to it and, making it be genuine, whereas everything else on Instagram was pretty inauthentic. It was just comments saying like, great, awesome.
You post a picture of your mom's new gravestone or something and someone writes back, hot or something like that. It's like, well, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. When you put a human in, a human can, respond to that and make that be a real interaction.
Your employees are using their thumbs on their phone, or are they on a...
So they were on phones, yeah.
Wow.
And now since it's on LinkedIn, everything's done by hand over the computer.
So I go on LinkedIn and I say, oh, there's this guy, Chris, on there. He's a pharmacist talking about this, and where most people have, 10 comments and 6 likes, he's got 300 likes and, 70 comments. So when I'm looking at that, am I looking at my contemporaries loving you, or am I looking at the $1.90 club of Chris that's pumping this up?
Yeah. And so I wouldn't say the contemporaries love me, but it's all authentic and none of it is boosted in any way. And so
wait, it's all real people and none of it is
my doing.
None of it's computers, but is any of it your employees?
None of it is my employees.
Really?
This is the fun part about everything that I've done.
All right, Chris, I'm looking at you, and you're a handsome guy. You're nice to talk to. You got some good thoughts. But come on, are you 50 times as good on your LinkedIn posts than other people? What drove that number up?
Yeah. So the bottleneck on LinkedIn is how many connections you have and how many connection requests LinkedIn will let you send out. So every day you can send out roughly 50 to 75 connection requests, right?
Okay. So
for 2.5 years, every morning, I would send out 50 to 75 connection requests. And that allowed me, and it was very targeted. Like, I'm connected with pretty much exclusively pharmacists. And so by doing that, I've made it so there's 19,000 or something connections that I have.
They used to allow like 5,000 back in the old days. They said, "Hey, I know Kelzer. There's no way in hell he's got more than 5,000 friends." But now they allow more than that.
Right? They allow 30,000 now.
30,000 now.
Yeah. So I mean, anybody can get that level of visibility. That is the secret to it all. And I would encourage you to do it by hand. That's the other thing that I learned from my Instagram days is even if bots are able to save you time, you're going to fight a losing battle at some point because you're going to get flagged on the back end. They're going to limit your reach. They're going to limit the people that are going to be able to see you. So you can't lose if you just do it by hand. So I took all that as I was learning on Instagram and started to employ it on LinkedIn just for fun.
Yeah.
And that is what my LinkedIn is now, is essentially the culmination of sending 50 to 75 connection requests out a day for 2 years.
Here's the $64,000 question.
Yes.
There's debate on this, I know, online. Do you put any note in your request or do you just send it? Because I've heard varying things about notes or not.
I'll put it to rest. Because, I mean, this is what I consult people on all day long and what I analyze from like coming in. If you go to your inbox, 9.9 out of 10 of people that send a message are going to be a bot. It's going to be an inauthentic message. It's going to be a red flag. Don't connect with this person.
Exactly. That's what I think. And it doesn't take a genius. But when someone says, hey, I'd like to learn more about this, it's like, well, then get off your ass and look. I've got it all right there on my LinkedIn. I've got my post. I've got a podcast. What do you mean you want to learn more? It's a bot, of course.
Yeah. So that is pretty much like a red flag right there that it's going to be a bot. So the only reason that you should ever send a message in your connection request is if you're going to say, hey, Mike, I saw your podcast the other day and you were talking about X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So I wanted to send you a connection request and see if there's anything that we could talk about. If you send that message, good. It probably might help it, but that person probably would have connected with you anyways. And then you could have sent a message to them afterwards. I have these red flag words that I teach people never to use. And so I never use the word connect on LinkedIn. I never use like the phrase add you to my network or anything like that, because those are just telltale signs. Even if you're saying that authentically, those are just telltale signs that the bots have taken and just kind of ruined.
Your non-bot stuff on Instagram, similar to what your non-bot stuff is on LinkedIn, is increasing your connections.
Yes. So Instagram, I don't really touch anymore because it's not worth the time investment. Gotcha. So that might account for 5% of Uptown Creations business. We're 95% on LinkedIn. Gotcha. And the runway is there for LinkedIn. So what we do on LinkedIn is we connect with people, and that's apples to apples what we did on Instagram. Sure. But how I was saying, people didn't see the ROI. This is where LinkedIn becomes the powerhouse. Yeah. Is what we do further is start conversations with people and essentially schedule calls directly to our clients' calendars with people that they would want to do business with. And so in a world of you receiving 99% of botted messages, we have a network of stay-at-home mothers as well as other people based in the United States that go out on behalf of our clients and just interact and have genuine conversations with people to get them on a call, essentially. A mother at home. The people that they're interacting with, they know they're interacting with this lady.
They don't maybe think she's at home in her PJs, but they know they're interacting with Susie or whatever. And then Susie might say, hey, I've got this friend in the business that does this or that. Would you like to talk to him?
We're doing the work primarily off of our clients' accounts. So if I have Joe in New York that's selling sprinkler systems, Joe's going to go out and connect with building managers, just send out the connection request. And then we're going to send out a message the next day talking about either how their sprinkler system is at X, Y, and Z building and, kind of just starting the conversation for Joe.
And this is the mother at home, but through Joe's account.
Yeah, so this is the mother at home.
And how are they getting into Joe's account? Through just a simple password?
So we do it through a VPS.
Tell me what that is.
So a VPS is a computer that is always on, that's hosted remotely.
And they all can go in it at the same time, and they could have 50 Joes at the same time doing this.
And so you can only have one person in it at a time, but I can access it. My business partner in San Diego can access it. My business partners in Texas can access it. And then the person working on the client account can access it from Florida.
Gotcha.
And we can all do that remotely.
So basically, you've got this lady at home maybe doing it, but you don't have a million ladies for Joe. You've got like one lady for Joe.
It's one. If our employee can't answer a question, we'll tag Joe. Joe will go in and answer it. And then we'll look at that response. And then for the future, we'll be able to respond in a similar manner if that sort of question comes up again, with the end goal being to get them on a call with Joe. And once they're on the call, then it's all Joe.
Let's put other pharmacists in my spot.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm gonna say for my podcast, but for our listeners, it might be somebody who wants to do compounding more, or they want to get a hold of certain doctors. They want to do whatever, but I'll ask from my spot.
Yeah.
So with my podcast, so now I've got maybe 6,000 or something thing compared to 20 that you have. So I'm gonna get on every morning, and I'm gonna look for any pharmacist.
This is where the answer changes depending on what you want. You need to get people that care about what you're going to say, regardless of what that message is going to be.
And you tell me where I'm wrong. I was thinking, for sake of argument, I can know on my podcast, I can know basically who's looking. I can tell by LinkedIn. Well, I can tell by LinkedIn who's responding, and I guess mainly by that. And so many pharmacists, so many managers, so many this, so many that. But yeah, basically, I'm thinking any pharmacist that maybe has any interest in business. Would that be a fair place to start?
Yeah, I think that would be the perfect place to start. And you could even go even more granular if you wanted to go with pharmacy managers and just connect with every pharmacy manager.
Interesting.
Because that's how you can get even more specific. Like, you can connect with the 100,000 pharmacists that exist on LinkedIn, but you can also go for more granular demographics like pharmacy managers.
You start there and then pan out from there.
Yeah. And then, I mean, the power of LinkedIn, which is like no other social media platform, is if you buy the Sales Navigator, which is what we use, the amount of search information you can get is crazy. I mean, you can search for anybody who's a pharmacist that also has entrepreneur anywhere in their profile, or a pharmacist that has positions doing other things besides just being a pharmacist. Maybe they're a realtor or a financial advisor or whatever. I can pretty much guarantee that those people are either entrepreneurial or interested in doing other things.
Okay, so I've got LinkedIn. I've got the First Step Up, whatever that is. It's like the it's
premium.
Premium or something like that. The Navigator is going to allow me to go in and parse out more.
Right, and then this is where it gets more fun. And the skill level comes in. Then you're able to sort by people that have posted within the last 30 days. So what that tells you is that they're active on the platform.
Posted anywhere.
Right. So posted on LinkedIn.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But then that they're active on LinkedIn.
Right.
So your connection request isn't going to go to somebody that checks it 2 times a year.
There's a limit, I take it, right? 50 a day, or
it's like 50 to 75. It's not a known limit.
But if there's a limit, then you want to start with these because, if time is of the essence, I guess it is for all of us, you might as well start with your best people.
Right. And that's how you go from taking the strategy of targeting all pharmacists, regardless of if they've posted, if they're active or whatnot, to being able to get to like a really granular perspective and targeting the people that really would care about what you have to say and what you're putting out.
Because, people that have posted, and if they don't really love your stuff, at least they might share it or post it or do something like that.
And then you go to everybody else that has a podcast in pharmacy, and you see who's engaging with their podcast content. And then you go connect with those people. So everybody who's liking that content, because now you know, like if somebody likes it, that's them telling you from an analytics perspective that they're into that content. That's just by hand. That's the stuff that 99.999% of people will not do. But that's why if you get to that level, it's really easy to see some semblance of success.
I've been hesitant to just like people. What I typically will do is if they've commented or something, but I can actually go and like those people.
Yeah.
What's next?
Never post a link on LinkedIn. Only post content directly to the platform. So don't post it directing it to your website or directing it to another podcast location. There's tricks that you can do to do that. But if you're making a post.
Wait, slow down on this for me. Don't do what?
Don't post a link to another website or another place. You don't care if they leave LinkedIn, but LinkedIn cares if they leave LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is not going to show that post to as many people because you're just incentivizing people to leave their platform. So you want to keep the content on LinkedIn rather than sending them directly to your website.
So if I'm putting my podcast out, I don't want to give my podcast address that brings them to 12 other listening spots or whatever, right?
Right. What you want to do is you want to take a snippet of 30 to 360 seconds that are engaging and good, and then post that snippet directly to LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And then you could have a call to action like, check out the full podcast at the link in the comments. And then in the comment section, you go and leave a comment on your own post saying, check out the full podcast here. And then you put the link there. And that's kind of the trick and the hack to get around it.
Do they see that different? If someone leaves because of a comment, they don't see that as bad as leaving because of an original post?
The algorithm's not that smart. Algorithms are very smart, but it's not as stringent from that perspective.
Gotcha.
Because like the post itself is going to get analyzed in a specific way, and the comments are going to be secondary analysis,
right? Not
primary.
Basically, it could be whatever, the 30 seconds or whatever, or you could post some things. And then in the first comment, you tag your guest and say, hey, it was great having so-and-so on the show. Yeah. Here's the link to it. But that's in the comment section, not in the actual post above.
Exactly. Yes. Your post will perform a lot better just from doing that. Then it is the format of the post itself. I don't know if you've heard of Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels.
Yeah, I've heard of ClickFunnels, yeah.
Yeah, so Russell Brunson's like the founder of ClickFunnels. And so whenever they talk about creating content, they talk about content creation and video creation specifically in the format of hook, story, offer. Okay. So you have a line that's a hook, you tell the story that exemplifies whatever you're trying to say, and then you have an offer as the last thing. And usually the way that I tell it to clients is I replace offer with call to action. Mm-hmm. So the best way to get engagement on any social media platform is just to ask for it. And so if you ask a question and say, what are your thoughts on this episode of the podcast? Or whatever. By just asking that question, you're encouraging people to engage with your content and comment on it. But so if you follow the hook, story, offer, the hook being just like a title.
Sure.
So let's say that you're going to make the post for something that you and I are talking about. You could say, this is how you can gain traction on LinkedIn in the next 90 days.
Sure.
And so that's your title line or whatever.
Yeah.
Then you do 2 spaces and you do the story and say, what we talked about and give a synopsis of what the video clip is going to say.
Yeah.
And then the last thing you could do is have a call to action where it's either encouraging people to engage with the content or tag somebody that could find use in this.
And what you don't want to do there, though, is send them away. LinkedIn slaps your hand for that.
Well, as long as you're not posting a link.
I see.
That's really the red flag is if you're posting a link, they know that you're trying to lead them off the platform.
So you could say something like,
visit my website or something like that.
You could say visit my website or this is available on 15 different podcast things. Just something that puts it there, but it's not as easy as taking them off LinkedIn. They want people to stay on LinkedIn.
Right. But I would even argue that like there's no point in saying those things because they're going to go over most people's heads.
Yeah.
If you can make something, if you can use that space and that real estate as like getting them to share it with other people or compelling them to do some sort of action that isn't super markety, that's how you can get the most traction on that post. And then by getting more eyeballs on it, that'll inadvertently get more people to go check out your podcast, even if you're not saying it.
You're saying that getting someone to like it and getting someone to comment, LinkedIn likes that because they know it's getting more popular and they want to keep showing it.
Right. And just the way the algorithm works on LinkedIn, it's insane the way that it works in that if I go and like your post, it'll show up in other people's feed as your post will show up, but then it'll say like Chris Cozzolino liked this post, but it'll show up your post to see it. So, I mean, I've had people reach out to me that say anytime I like their post, it blows up because it's being shown to everybody that I'm connected with in my feed. And that's the unique thing about LinkedIn's algorithm is that it shows other people content that aren't connected with you if they're connected with the person that engages with a piece of content.
All right, devil's advocate. About 5 years ago, people on LinkedIn, they would like stuff. All of a sudden, I'm seeing like Joe like this, Joe like that, Joe like, well, I got pretty damn sick of Joe, because he was liking all this stuff. You like stuff on LinkedIn?
Not a ton. And here's the reason why. I'll share a story about engagement groups. And so one of the initial ways before I knew anything about social media, there were something called engagement groups and power likes on Instagram. And the concept was me, Chris Cozzolino, if I go and like a picture, if Justin Bieber goes and likes that picture, that holds a lot more weight. That like is just way more powerful. And that content's going to blow up because Justin Bieber liked it, not Chris Cozzolino. What that tells people though, or what that tells marketers is that, okay, there's some score on the back end that the algorithm's doing that ranks different accounts different ways. And so we call that a trust score. So every account has a trust score that's based on the quality of their profile. And it's a million different factors. It's going to be like how much engagement their profile is getting, how spammy activity their profile is. Yeah. And just a variety of things like that. So for that reason, engagement groups and power likes eventually went away and started to do more damage than good. And those same pods and engagement groups exist on LinkedIn. And I tell my clients never to use them.
Tell me the engagement group. That's hiring 100 people to like stuff?
No. So that would be me going to you and 15 other people in pharmacy and saying, hey, every time that one of us makes a post, all other 14 are going to go and engage with that post. And then we're going to blow it up that way. That can still work. And so if people went and did that could still work. But algorithms are really good at finding trends. And if they see that there's something weird and fishy going on, they're going to just slap you. And that's why I don't use any of those tactics on my own account, is because it's a lot harder to do it the right way. But if you do it the wrong way, there's a lot of risk involved because if the algorithm catches on, they're going to suppress you.
Not worth it for them to make a big stink out of it. They just suppress you.
And the worst thing is they don't even know. It's their algorithm doing it. It's you made a wrong step and the algorithm caught on and it wasn't even a human decision.
They don't care. But they know that it's really not that popular and they want stuff on there that's truly popular.
Right.
Chris, if a pharmacy came to you, give me an example of someone that would be like kind of a low-end client, not too low-end for you, but probably not your best client you've ever had spending millions. What would be an example of a pharmacy coming to you? What would that look like? What would be their first step? Just in terms of calling you, what would you maybe do for them? And I'm thinking, you tell me, would it be a community pharmacy doing it, or would it be someone who already has a special service they want to do, whether it's, compounding or HME or something like that?
Yeah. So I think the ideal thing from a pharmacist perspective is figuring out who they're trying to reach. So I have like chiropractor friends and things that I'm going to try this out with, in terms of one thing you can do with LinkedIn is search very specifically demographically. So I could search down to the zip code. So if I'm able to look at C-level executives in the Iowa City area, okay, I could offer them something. Whether, I mean, it might even just be, come fill whatever prescriptions you have at my pharmacy, and not only will I do a better job because of this, but you'll get this discount associated with bringing your prescriptions over, if that's what you want to do. Or if you're trying to sell like other clinical services or whatever it would be. That would be like the mass approach of trying to get things that are lower ticket options. Because then it comes down to the price of what you're trying to sell. In short, our packages start at $1,000 a month. And then based on what strategy would work best for what you're trying to do, that's kind of where it can get tailored. And we either determine to work with somebody or not work with them.
What are some stupid things that pharmacists definitely should stop doing on social media right now?
Honestly, I'm going to be biased just because I think that the stupidest thing is not doing anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's what most people do. Is most pharmacists are type A personalities. A lot are going to be more introverted. You're not going to want to put yourself out there as much. But I think you can create some sort of content without having to put yourself out there. So for one, this is something I'm going to make a video on in the next couple of days. I think that everybody should have an about me video. If you're interviewing for a job in the next 24 months, there's going to be a remote component to it. And you may as well show somebody your voice and give them that little intro before they talk with you. So just giving a 90-second elevator pitch of why they should care to talk about you or talk to you. I think everybody, regardless of their industry that they're in, carpenters should do it as well. But putting a video like that.
Face on, or do they have to show a picture of me playing with my black lab and stuff like that?
I mean, I think that just doing face on is the best way to do it.
Just a talking head.
Yeah. I mean, just turn your phone towards your face and start talking. That was the lowest barrier to entry because content creation wasn't natural for me. And it still isn't super natural. It's an awkward thing, but I can't tell my clients they need to go do it if I'm not doing it myself. So that's kind of why I listened to Gary Vee and overcame it and just dropped all the barriers to entry and just was like, screw it. I'm going to turn the camera around. I'm going to talk. It might suck, but that's what it is.
People have to get out there and do it, right?
Yeah.
Just get out there.
I think too many people think that they need a goal for it and they need to have something to sell or want to do something. I mean, I've had job offers just because of probably the way that I portray myself and people think that I'm able to talk and they see some sort of value in that. But for no other reason than that alone, I've had job offers. A lot of people like choosing the devil they know. So if you, however you do it, are able to get somebody to know you or at least feel like they know you better than the next guy,
right?
They're going to like you more and they're going to choose you for whatever, even if it's just a job that you're looking for because you're trying to change positions.
Well, Chris, golly, I could talk forever about this. So I know that you probably have work to do, busy guy like you. So thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Mike. It was a pleasure.
That was a lot of fun. I love talking that stuff. Thanks for not laughing too much when I said some things that prove that I'm, 30 years older than you guys. I've got a number of kids and 5 of the 10 are boys and we play pig, at home, basketball, horse or whatever,
Yeah.
And one of the rules now is that when I shoot, and if they laugh at my shot, they get a letter.
I like that rule.
So near the end of the game, I'm either do I have a chance of hitting this or do I do one of my regular shots and miss the basket by 3 feet, hoping that they laugh and then they get the letter. So I appreciate you letting me play in this playground for a little bit. All right, Chris, we'll be in touch.
Sounds like a plan, Mike.
You've been listening to the Business of Pharmacy podcast with me, your host, Mike Kelzer. Please subscribe for all future episodes.